What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about the Fat Shark Scout HD. I've had this for over a month now, and I've been wanting to make a video, but I've been so busy. Everything is just moving so fast, and I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. And I'm not going to go through all the specs and all the features because this has been out for a while. There are many videos out there that goes through all the menus, everything. And I'm just going to share my thoughts. Now, these are my thoughts, guys. You might feel differently. You might have different reasons why you fly FPV. These are just my thoughts. So if you agree, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. You know, it's just, we're all different. We're all doing this for different reasons. I just want to go right ahead and say, I love these goggles. This really is like a dream come true for me. As I heard about these, I went out there and I got it because I thought that's what I always wanted. Now, just for context, here's what I have been flying, the Skyzone 04X. I've had these for a while. This is, to me, the best analog goggle you can get, and with the Fat Shark HD module, it was amazing. And I just had a few issues. First of all, the fact that you have to connect this with an HDMI cable, it's all right, you know, it works, but I starting to have trouble where you touch it and it would make the image glitch. That's a bummer, and that's not a problem of the module. These little micro HDMI cables are known for causing that. Even on my cameras, because I'm into video production, anything that has a micro HDMI always gives some kind of a trouble like that. But, you know, also the fact that I had to plug in, I know it came with that plug that has the two wires, and it goes to the one battery, kind of like this. And you just plug that in, but you still have to turn on the goggles, plug in the battery. That's an extra step. I just want to go to the field, plug in my goggles, and I'm off. And that's what this is. This kind of makes your digital setup feel like it's, you know, like analog. And of course, you know, just like with DJI, you just plug in your goggles and you're gone. You know, with Fat Shark, we didn't have that option until now, and this is just the beginning. I'm quite sure Fat Shark is going to make a better goggle that actually has HDMI in. This has no HDMI in, no HDMI out. It's just a Fat Shark Sharkbyte receiver in there. That's it. And you just have a 1080p screen that you can't even adjust at the moment. There's no setting to change the brightness or anything. You don't even need to. The screen in there is fine. It's just absolutely fine. If you want to experience digital HD FPV, this is the cheapest. This is, to me right now, this is the cheapest and best option that there is out there. I don't know if it's still being sold. I haven't checked to see if anything has been updated or what's coming out next. Speaking about what's coming out next, guys, the only reason why I'm holding on to analog is because of my little toothpick bills with our 1S. Of course, Sharkbyte VTXs don't work on 1S, but I just heard recently in a Sharkbyte group on Facebook that they're actually making a 1S version of the Whoop VTX, which is amazing, guys. If that happens, I have no need for analog anymore. And who knows, maybe I do, because I don't know if that 1S board is going to be the same weight or if it's going to draw a lot of power, which Sharkbyte actually does draw a lot of power, mind you, because the chips on there get really hot. They're using an older technology in chips. That's a whole other thing that I won't get into right now, but it actually draws a lot of power, as in amps. So a 1S board might draw a lot of power and might make flight time a little less, which I wouldn't really be happy about. But anyway, that's beside the point, guys. For me, I'm just mentioning that because if that's the case, these goggles would be all I need. I won't miss the fact that it doesn't have an analog receiver or anything. So yeah, and as for the screens, I will show you the comparisons here. So here you can see what it looks like. Let me zoom in there. There we are. That's much better. It's got this kind of a segmented magnifying glass display looking thing. And if you look at the top, that's where the screen is. The screen is actually up there, and there's some kind of a mirror that's showing it. So when you have this on your face, you don't see any of those reflections. I see some reflections now when I use the phone, but I don't see it when I have it on my face. So yeah, that's a very perfectly acceptable image. Here's the sky zone. I can't get the camera close enough in there to see. This actually looks better on the camera. It really does, but just as a comparison, you can see, I feel like what you're seeing is because the camera is able to focus a bit better in there. Yeah, there you go. That's what it looks like. So yeah, that's basically how I feel about these where everything is going. I think it's an exciting time to be into FPV, guys. Really amazing that we live in a time where we now have digital. Do you know that a few years ago, for those of you who are just starting out, it was almost it was thought impossible that we'd never have digital FPV. I love the fact that we have DJI. I love that we have Sharkbyte. I love that they're getting everything nice and small and everything is becoming just as easy as analog, because I was still thinking after I got the Sharkbyte module, I was still kind of going back to analog, thinking it's so much more simple, you know, there is not a whole bunch of, you know, stuff to set up and whatever. You just plug it in and you are off flying. And now the Sharkbyte, that's the same feeling I have. I can just plug it in and I'm off. There's nothing that feels like it's too clunky and takes too much. You know, eventually I'm sure Fat Shark is gonna make like an HDO2 like this that has built-in you know, Sharkbyte receivers, and it has everything else, all the bells and whistles. This is just like to get people into HD. Guys, I flew this with the right after I flew DJI. My friend had a DJI camera, a DJI setup, and he's I don't remember which camera he had, but his camera is a 60 frames per second DJI camera. Sharkbyte is also 60 frames per second. And when I was flying the DJI, I thought something was wrong with his goggles, because I could see the motion blur like this whenever you move really quickly, especially from side to side like that. You can see the frame rate, and I thought that looks really, really strange. And then when I would fly Sharkbyte, everything felt smooth. I felt more connected. The latency was great, but it was that motion that was getting me. And then I realized that Sharkbyte is actually using interlaced video, which is just like analog. Interlace is where, you know, it draws like for each frame, it comes in like a we call it like different fields, like odd fields, even fields, odd fields. So it kind of like, hard to describe. I use my fingers because those are like the lines, you know. It's like it refreshes like that. I'm sure most of you might know about that. And basically what that does, it creates a more smoother image. So like basically the 60 frames per second on Sharkbyte looks like the 120 frames per second on DJI. And that's madness when I think about it. I didn't even know, because I thought 60 frames per second is going to look, but you know, DJI is doing a progressive thing where the screen is all refreshed at like the same time. So like it creates that sticky motion. So that's why Sharkbyte is a lot better when it comes to racing, along with the analog. That's just my take, guys. I like DJI, I really do, and I'm sure DJI is going to come out one day with a 1S option as well, and everybody will be happy. But for me, I just like Sharkbyte. Sharkbyte feels like it's a lot closer to what I'm used to with analog, and I feel like even with range, I can tell when it's gonna really trip out easier than with DJI. I watched my friend lose his drone like 3 times because it's so good that when it reaches the end of the range, it just cuts off. There's no warning. You just see a one block and then boom, your signal is gone and you're falling out the sky. And that's what happened with Sharkbyte. I feel like it gives you more of a warning. Like it's more like analog, and you know, that's just the pluses. But you know, it all depends on what you like, isn't it? So that's what it is, guys. I'd also like to mention, to clarify, that, you know, we as human beings, our perceptions of things are very different, because I work into video production. I've been doing it for so many years, and I could always tell the difference between a video that was shot at 24 frames per second, which is usually the cinema standard, and a video that was shot in 30. That sounds like it's so close, but I could tell by looking at a video, by the smoothness and how much it jittered. I could tell, and I had a lot of workmates who couldn't tell. So, you know, it's a thing that some people, I guess, are just more attuned to that. The same thing happens when it comes to latency. If you fly DJI, your brain is going to just adapt to that changing latency, or that, you know, higher latency, and it's going to feel quite fine to you. But try flying analog and then jumping on DJI. That's a total different thing. You're going to feel instantly that there's a difference. But your brain is actually quite adaptable. When I fly like one of the old analog builds that had like the run cam splits, that had a lot of latency, and after a while of flying just that drone, I didn't feel it anymore because my brain compensated for that. So that's a lot of things to take into consideration. If somebody's flying DJI and they're going to say, oh, I don't feel the latency, you're not going to feel it because you're used to it. Your brain has gotten used to it. So yeah, that's why for me it was great to put these on and ambient the different feelings that I get between the DJI and wearing this. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to take into consideration when we're doing these differences. Anyway, I don't want to bore you too long. That's what I have to say about these guys. I really think that if you want to get into digital, this is the way to go right now. and I'm sure there's gonna be better things. I've started this with a 2S battery. I try to keep everything 2S, even my battery chargers are just 2S. So yeah, and I was having problems running 2S on the Sky Zone. If anybody else had that problem, let me know. When those 2S batteries get low, the Sky Zone just turns off. It doesn't give you a warning. It doesn't even get like to the point where the battery is actually exhausted. But with this, I have no problem. I can go as low as I want. Actually, this kind of gave me like a premature low battery warning, I think. I don't remember, but it has happened. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching and safe flying. I'll see you soon.